Impeachment discussions have officially returned to Washington. I am not referring to fringe theories lacking support. I am talking about 140 Congress members moving forward now. You heard that statement correctly. 140 lawmakers said yes to impeaching the president. The Senate now faces another trial as the 2026 campaign season heats up. Before we continue further, let us be honest. You cannot trust mainstream media outlets anymore. If you want to support us, join our community that cares about truth. The voting process began with high tension. The clerk called the roll, asking for verdicts. The response from the floor was immediate and sharply divided by party lines. Senators stood one by one to cast votes. Some shouted their answers defiantly. Others spoke quietly. The record shows a clear split between the two major political parties. For every vote of guilty, a vote of not guilty followed. The chamber echoed with these decisions. It was a long, arduous process that highlighted the deep divide. Names were called alphabetically, and the results were predictable. Democrats largely voted guilty, while Republicans voted not guilty. The polarization in the room was undeniable to every observer there. Here is the breakdown of events. Texas Representative Al Green is on a mission to impeach Trump. On December 11th, he forced a crucial vote in the House. Technically, the House voted to table his resolution. This means they blocked it from advancing immediately. Democratic leadership actually joined Republicans to shut the effort down completely today. Here is the wild part of this. 140 members still voted to advance it. That is a massive number, much higher than the vote last June. Let me put that into perspective. We are not discussing a handful of progressives voting symbolically. We are talking about nearly a third of the House speaking out. That is not nothing. That is a significant block of Congress ready to put the president on trial, and Al Green is not backing down from this fight. He gave a fiery floor speech recently. He accused Trump of normalizing political violence. He announced what he calls a countdown to impeachment before the Christmas break arrives. He said he will file more articles. He stated we cannot allow him to normalize the notion that you can hang Congress members just because you disagree strongly. Think about that statement for a second. A sitting Congress member says the president normalized threatening to hang lawmakers. That is not hyperbole. That is not political theater. That is a direct accusation that Trump makes political violence acceptable. 140 members of Congress agreed enough with that sentiment to vote for impeachment right now. Here is where it gets interesting. This is not Green's first attempt. He introduced multiple impeachment articles this year. One accused Trump of abusing his presidential power significantly. Another said Trump usurped Congress's power to declare war. There is a stack of impeachment attempts building in the 119th Congress, and more members are getting on board. The House leadership shut this one down, but the momentum is building rapidly. That puts the Senate in an impossible position. If the House passes articles of impeachment, the Senate has to decide on this. Do they hold a trial or do they bury it? Either choice is political dynamite that could explode in their faces. If they hold a trial, it dominates news. It becomes the only thing anyone talks about. Trump's agenda grinds to a halt while the trial proceeds in public. Republicans in swing districts must defend him. All the ugliest parts of Trump's behavior get aired out in public hearings for everyone to see clearly on national television, but if they bury it quickly, they look bad. If they refuse a trial or vote to acquit without evidence, they look like they are covering up crimes. They look like they put party over country. That could energize Democrats and independents heading into 2026. Senators are stuck, and you can already see them posturing now. They are trying to figure out options. Some are quietly hoping the House never passes impeachment so they do not have to make the choice that hurts them. Others are preparing their talking points. They will say impeachment is a partisan witch hunt. A few might wonder if this is the moment to break with Trump. They worry about getting destroyed by his base. Here is the kicker. This impeachment push happens at the same time as all these other major scandals are breaking. The Epstein files cover-up is expanding. The Kennedy Center corruption is huge. The Dodge is stonewalling. Democrats are building a narrative that Trump and his people are corrupt. They say they are above the law. They are threatening democracy. Congress needs to act. Green explicitly tied his impeachment push to the broader issue of accountability today. He is saying, look at the facts. If we do not hold Trump accountable for normalizing political violence or abusing his power, then we are sending a message. That message says presidents do whatever they want. That message is dangerous. So buckle up, because this is about to get wild. We will break down Green's accusations. We are going to look at the votes. We will examine why 140 members voted for impeachment. We will explain the Senate's impossible choice regarding this trial. We will talk about what this means. We will discuss the impact on 2026 and beyond. Let us dive in to really understand what is happening here today. We need to rewind and look closer. We must examine Al Green's impeachment campaign, because this did not just start in December. Green has been trying for months. He filed multiple resolutions with different accusations. The first big one was about Trump abusing presidential power. Green argued that Trump was using the office to enrich himself. He said Trump punished his political enemies. He argued Trump undermined democratic institutions. This was pretty standard impeachment stuff, but it did not get much traction at first. Most Democrats were nervous about impeachment then. Trump's base is rabid and they did not want to energize them. Then Green filed another resolution about Trump usurping power. This one focused on foreign policy decisions. It argued that he was making military commitments without congressional approval. Again, this was a legitimate constitutional argument to make publicly. Again, not much support appeared initially, but then something changed. Over the summer and fall, Trump's rhetoric got more and more extreme. He started talking about jailing opponents. He made comments that encouraged violence. He seemed to target lawmakers who opposed him. Green latched onto that. He made political violence the centerpiece of his push. In late November, Green gave speeches. They were absolutely scathing. He said Trump was normalizing political violence. He said Trump made it acceptable to threaten members of Congress. He spoke about physical harm to voters. He specifically called out Trump's rhetoric about hanging lawmakers who do not fall in line with his demands and his policies. You might be thinking about this clearly. Did Trump literally say he wants to hang members of Congress? Well, it is complicated. Trump uses a specific tactical method. He uses this thing called stochastic terrorism. He does not directly call for violence, but he says things that make his supporters think violence is justified and needed. He will say these lawmakers are traitors, and you know what we used to do to traitors. He leaves the implication hanging there without saying go hang them. His supporters get the message clearly, and it works. We have seen an explosion in threats against lawmakers, especially Democrats and Republicans who have criticized Trump heavily recently. Capitol Police have documented hundreds of threats. Some lawmakers have needed security details. All of it traces back to Trump's rhetoric about those lawmakers being enemies of people. So Green is saying enough is enough. This is impeachable. A president cannot be allowed to create an environment where his supporters think it is okay to threaten. Threatening violence against Congress is dangerous. That is a fundamental threat to democracy. That is the president attacking a co-equal branch of government in a very direct way. The December 11th vote forced the issue. Green used a procedural tactic that required the House to vote on his impeachment resolution within a few days of filing. No more kicking the can down road. No more letting leadership quietly shove it aside. The House had to take a position, and here is what happened next. Democratic leadership voted to table the resolution. People like Hakeem Jeffries are not ready to go all in on impeachment. They think it is too politically risky now. They worry about losing moderate voters. They worry about the whole thing backfiring like it did in Trump's first term, but 140 members defied leadership. Today, that is more than double the number. The previous vote in June was much lower. That is a massive surge in support. It shows the base is furious. The Democratic base is demanding action now. Who are these 140 members? It is a mix. You have the progressive wing, obviously, like AOC and others. The squad has called for accountability continuously, but you also have more moderate members from competitive districts. They are willing to take the political risk for this cause. They think impeachment is the right thing. That is what makes this different from past attempts. This is not just the far left going off on their own. This is a broad coalition of members. It includes people who usually try to avoid controversy. That tells you something about how bad things have gotten in Washington. Let us talk about what happens next. If the House actually passes articles of impeachment, that is looking more possible. If Green keeps building support, we hit tipping. If a few more scandals break out, if Trump's rhetoric gets even more extreme, we could hit a point where a majority of the House says do this. If that happens, it goes to Senate. The Senate has to hold a trial that is in the Constitution. They cannot just ignore it or wish it away. They can make the trial really short. They can be perfunctory and basically just vote to acquit without seriously considering the evidence. That is what they did before, but they have to do something. This is where the politics get really complicated. Senate Republicans are terrified of impeachment. Most of them do not want to defend. They do not want to defend behavior, but they are even more terrified of Trump's base turning on them if they vote to convict him in the Senate. So you are going to see posturing. Senators will say they have not seen the evidence yet. They will say they will keep an open mind about it. It is all the usual nonsense talk, realistically. Most Republicans are going to vote to acquit no matter what. Party loyalty is stronger than everything else these days. The question is about breaking ranks. Will any Republicans break ranks? In Trump's second impeachment, 7 Republican senators voted to convict. That was after January 6th took place. The evidence was overwhelming back then. There was genuine anger at Trump for inciting the attack on the Capitol. Could we see something similar happen this time around? Probably not because those 7 senators paid a heavy political price. Some of them retired rather than face Trump-endorsed primary challengers in their states. Others are still dealing with death threats. They face threats from Trump supporters. So the lesson other Republicans learned was do not cross Trump because it is not worth. But here is the thing to remember. The 2026 midterms are coming soon. And if public opinion shifts, if independents start seeing Trump as a threat, calculations change. Senators care about re-election more than anything. If defending Trump costs them their seats, they might consider voting to convict. That is what Democrats are betting on now. They are hoping hearings shift opinion by putting all of Trump's worst behavior on display, and by making Republicans vote on the record, they can win in 2026. Let us connect this to other scandals. Impeachment does not happen in a vacuum. It is part of a larger narrative that Democrats are building about Trump's corruption. You have the Epstein files cover-up. Trump and his attorney general allegedly hid evidence about powerful people involved in sex trafficking. That is a massive scandal. Brewing. You have the Kennedy Center corruption too. Trump's ally Grenell allegedly gave away millions in public funds to political allies, and now you have impeachment over political violence. All of these stories feed each other. They create a portrait of an administration that believes it is above the law. That portrait is what Democrats will use. They are going to say Trump is corrupt. His people are corrupt. They think they can get away with anything. Vote for us to restore accountability in government. The impeachment push is the sharpest tool. If Congress says this behavior is impeachable, that is a powerful statement. It says this is not normal or acceptable behavior. This is a president needing removal. Even if the Senate does not convict, even if Trump stays in office, the impeachment itself matters because it puts Republicans on record. It matters because it dominates news cycles. It matters because it shapes how people think about Trump and his party. Al Green understands this strategy very well now. That is why he has been relentless. He is not naive enough to think the Senate will convict Trump, but he knows that the process itself is valuable. He knows that forcing votes helps. Holding hearings and making people defend the indefensible has political power. The fact that 140 members backed him shows progress. More Democrats are coming around to this. They are realizing that playing it safe does not work. Trying to avoid controversy is failing. Trump is still doing terrible things. His supporters are still threatening violence. If Congress does not use its constitutional powers to check him, then what is the point of having those powers at all? So we are heading into a collision. Green is promising more impeachment articles before Christmas. Support is growing in the House. The Senate is bracing for the impact, and Trump is being Trump as usual. He is doubling down on the rhetoric that got him in trouble in the first place. The next few weeks are crucial if Green can get a few more. If another scandal breaks that pushes people over the edge, if Trump says something outrageous, even moderate Democrats might have to act. We could actually see articles pass, and if that happens, all hell breaks loose. The Senate has to hold a trial. 2026 becomes all about the impeachment process. We are back in the chaos again. It will feel like Trump's first term where every day is a new crisis and nothing else can get done properly. Okay, let us break this down now. We need the core pieces so you really understand what is happening. This is about whether Congress still has the power. That is what impeachment is for, right? The founders gave Congress this tool to remove presidents who abuse their power, but if Congress never actually uses it, what? If the Senate always just votes acquit? If they vote along party lines, then what is the point? Trump has basically tested every limit of presidential power possible. He has done things others would not. Previous presidents wouldn't have dreamed of it. He has gotten away with almost all of it because Republicans protect him fiercely. Democrats are too scared to act decisively. So the question is, does Congress still matter? Or has the presidency become so powerful that nothing can stop it anymore? Al Green says Congress must reassert itself. It has to use impeachment the way it was intended. It is a check on executive overreach and abuse of power. 140 members agree with him. That is not a majority yet, but it is getting closer. And here is the thing regarding the future of democracy. If Congress does not act right now, if they let Trump normalize political violence, then the next president will push even further because they will know there are no consequences. They will know Congress is toothless. And that is how democracies die. Not with a bang, but with a slow erosion of checks and balances until nothing is left. The political violence angle is really important. This is not some abstract policy disagreement. This is about whether it is okay for a president to encourage threats against lawmakers. Green is dead serious about this issue. He talks about Trump normalizing the idea that you can hang members of Congress for their votes. He is not making it up. Trump's rhetoric has gotten increasingly violent. His supporters have picked up on it, and lawmakers are genuinely afraid for their safety. This should be a bipartisan issue. Today, Republicans are threatened by this too, especially the ones who have criticized Trump. Liz Cheney needed a security detail. Adam Kinzinger got death threats from the supporters. Democrats get it worse, obviously, but the threat is real across the board. So when Green says this is impeachable, he is saying a president cannot allow this. He cannot create an environment of fear. His political opponents fear for their lives. That is not democracy. That is authoritarianism. If Congress does not draw a line, where do they draw it? The problem is that most Republicans won't acknowledge this. They will say the threats are isolated incidents. They will say it is not Trump's fault. They call it crazy people doing things, but that is nonsense. When the president constantly talks about his opponents being traitors and enemies, he creates the climate for violence. He knows it. Point 3 is the Senate. The Senate's calculation is fascinating because they are trapped between two terrible options: hold a real trial and alienate the base, or bury it quickly and look guilty. Most senators are probably hoping the House never actually passes impeachment, but if it comes to them, they must pick a side. That choice could define the 2026 elections. Imagine you are a Republican senator in a swing state like Pennsylvania or Wisconsin. You have a close race coming up soon. If you vote to convict Trump problems, his base will primary you or just stay home in November. But if you vote to acquit, independents might punish you. That is a no-win situation. It is why Republican senators are probably privately furious at Al Green. They do not want to defend Trump's behavior right now. But they do not have the courage. They cannot stand up to him either. Now, could we see any Republican senators vote to convict this time around? Maybe, if public opinion really shifts significantly. If Trump does something so outrageous between now and the trial that it becomes politically safer to vote against him than for him, but do not count on it happening. The party is still completely in Trump's grip. Point 4 connects this to all the other scandals in a really important way. Democrats are building a comprehensive case. Trump and his administration are fundamentally corrupt and lawless. The Epstein files are about hiding evidence and protecting powerful elites from justice. The Kennedy Center is about using public resources for political gain. The impeachment is about political violence and abuse of power. Each one reinforces the others. Democrats are smart to make these connections. Voters might not care about any single scandal, but a pattern of corruption is harder to ignore. It is death by cuts. Each new revelation makes the last believable. So when Al Green talks about impeachment, he is not just talking about one set of articles. He talks about lawlessness. He talks about a president above law. That is the narrative Democrats are pushing for 2026. Now, will it work politically? That is the big question we must ask. Impeachment did not work in the past. Trump actually got more popular during the process and his party rallied around him. Could the same thing happen again today? Maybe Trump is really good at playing victim. He is going to say this is a partisan witch hunt. Democrats are trying to overturn the election, he claims. It is all political theater to him. His base is going to eat it up. They are going to get more energized, more loyal, and more convinced of conspiracy. But here is the difference. This time, in Trump's first term, the economy was doing okay. Most people were not paying close attention. Now people are paying attention. They have seen what Trump's second term looks like. There is a lot more buyer's remorse, especially among independents and even some Republicans. So impeachment might actually cut through. It might force people to confront behavior. They must confront Trump's behavior in a way they didn't before. If Democrats keep the focus on his actual misconduct, it helps. The key is going to be media. How the media covers it matters. If they cover it as Democrats launch another partisan impeachment, then it is dead on arrival. But if they cover it as accountability, president accused of normalizing political violence, 140 lawmakers demand accountability, then it has a shot at resonating with voters, and victims matter in this process too. If members of Congress who have received death threats come forward and testify about the climate Trump has created, that is powerful. If law enforcement officials talk about threats, if they discuss the spike in threats tied to Trump's rhetoric, that is evidence people cannot ignore. So Al Green is betting. He bets that this time will be different. The accumulation of scandals, the escalation of violence, and the brazenness of the corruption has reached a tipping point for Congress. Is he right? We are about to find out if Green follows through on his promise to file more articles before Christmas, and if support keeps growing, we could see a House impeachment vote that could happen in early 2026, and then all eyes turn to the Senate. Here is my take on the situation. The House will probably pass articles eventually, maybe not this month, but sometime in the first half of 2026. The pressure is building too fast for them to stop. Democrats have too many angry voters demanding action. The Senate will hold a perfunctory trial and vote to acquit along party lines, maybe with 1 or 2 Republican defections. Not enough to convict, but enough tension. It creates political tension within the party, and then it becomes a campaign issue. Democrats run on trying to hold Trump accountable. Republicans run on Democrats wasting time. They will say Democrats wasted time on partisan impeachment instead of fixing real problems, and voters decide who they believe in the end. My guess is it helps Democrats more. It helps them more than it hurts them. Impeachment keeps Trump's worst behavior in the news and forces Republicans to defend him. It energizes the Democratic base effectively. It gives independents reasons to reconsider their support for Trump, but it is also risky because if impeachment becomes a circus, it fails. If Democrats overreach or make it partisan, it could backfire. Trump could play victim so effectively that he actually gains support. That is what happened last time around. So the stakes are incredibly high here. Al Green is forcing a confrontation that will either break Trump's grip on power or strengthen it. There is not much middle ground. The bottom line is simply this. 140 members of Congress just voted to impeach the president. That is not a small thing. That is a significant portion. The legislative branch is saying something. They say the executive has gone too far. Even if it does not result in removal, it matters. It matters because it is a statement. It is a statement about standards. It is about what we will and will not accept from our leaders. It is about whether Congress is willing to use its constitutional powers. Al Green is betting that Congress acts. He bets they still have the courage to check presidential power. Lawmakers are willing to risk political backlash to do the right thing. He believes voters will ultimately reward accountability. Accountability over party loyalty is the goal. We will see if he is right. But one thing is for sure right now. The next few months will be wild. Impeachment votes, Senate trials, and 2026 campaigns ramping up. All of it happening at once in this pressure cooker of scandals. So yeah, buckle up immediately. American democracy is about to stress test itself in real time. We are all going to find out if the system still works today. We will see if it is broken. If you made it this far, smash that subscribe button because this impeachment fight is just getting started for us. We are going to be covering every twist. We will follow every turn. Stay tuned.